Let's be real. We've all done it. Walked into a store, browsed a website, hit that add to cart button. The act of buying seems so simple, but behind that simple click, there's this huge, complex world. In this explainer, we're going to peek behind the curtain and see what really makes the world of retail tick. But have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on? What are the unwritten rules of the game? Why does one shop totally crush it while the one next door goes bust? That's the big question we're going to tackle. All right, so before we dive deep, we've got to get on the same page. Let's lock in a few of the most basic ideas that define what retail even is. At its absolute heart, retailing is just this: selling products directly to the person who's actually going to use them, the customer. And pretty much all of those products fall into one of two buckets. First up, you've got goods. Pretty straightforward, right? These are the physical, tangible things you can actually touch and own. A car, your phone, a bag of chips, those are all goods. And on the flip side, you've got services. These are the things people do for you. So if the car is the good, then the mechanic who fixes it, well, that's the service. You know, a lot of businesses actually do both. Think about your barber. They give you the service of a haircut, but they also sell you the goods like shampoo or gel. Now, this simple difference is basically the engine for all of commerce. Retailers have to understand the powerful distinction between needs, the stuff we literally need to survive, and wants, the things that just make life more fun. The real magic, the most successful companies, they operate right in that sweet spot between what we need and what we desperately want. And this idea from Under Armour's Kevin Plank totally nails a huge shift, right? Shopping isn't just about getting stuff anymore. It has to be an experience, a form of entertainment. And believe it or not, that's a pretty new idea in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, that whole evolution is so important. Because it wasn't always like this. Not by a long shot. The entire focus of the retail world has done a complete 180 over the last century or so. You can pretty much break it down into 4 big eras. It started with just making enough stuff for everyone who wanted it. Then, once there was plenty of stuff, it became about selling hard. After that, businesses realized that building loyalty was the real key, which kicked off the relationship era. And that brings us to right now, an era where data is king and companies want to know what we want even before we do. Okay, so things are getting complicated, right? If you're running a retail business today, where do you even begin? Well, you start with the things you can actually control. This is your playbook. These are the levers you can pull to try and shape your own destiny. And right at the core of that playbook is a classic idea you might have heard of, the marketing mix. Most people just call it the 4 Ps. These are the absolute building blocks for pretty much every retail strategy out there. And here's the thing you have to remember. Retailers have direct, hands-on control over these 4 things. What's your product? How do you price it? Where are you going to sell it? That's your place. And how are you going to tell people about it? Your promotion. If you can get this mix right, you've got a shot. But, and this is a huge but, having a perfect playbook is not enough. Not even close. Because the world out there is filled with wild cards, these huge, unpredictable forces that a business has absolutely no control over. Like, think about social trends. All of a sudden, everyone's into sustainability, or there's some new health craze on TikTok. Poof! What people want to buy can change overnight. A retailer can't control that. They just have to react, and fast. And then there is the big one, the economy. A recession hits, inflation goes crazy, and suddenly your customers have a lot less cash to throw around. They start focusing on just the necessities. Your amazing strategy doesn't matter if people can't afford your product. How about competition? You can't control when some hot new competitor shows up on the scene, right? They can just appear out of nowhere and completely change the game, forcing you and everyone else to scramble just to stay relevant. And finally, you have the stuff that is completely, totally out of left field. We're talking natural disasters, floods, fires, you name it. Things that can literally wipe out your stores or your entire supply chain in a heartbeat. These are the ultimate wildcards. So when you put all of this together, you start to see the real game of retail. It's not just about having a great plan. It's about what you do when the world throws a curveball or a wild card. So here's the main thing to walk away with. Being successful in retail is this constant, tricky balancing act. You've got to master the things you can control, your 4 Ps, but you also have to be incredibly quick and flexible to react to all the things you can't. That right there is the real art of retail today. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. In a world of AI that can predict what we want and drones that can deliver it in an hour, what's the next big, uncontrollable thing? What's the next wild card that's going to come along and change retail forever?